Kelly Oubre missed the game against the Pacers with a sore foot. What is the latest on him? Will we see him tonight against the Heat? And that's just another personnel loss if he misses out. Mike Scott, I'm guessing, takes more minutes if Oubre can't go tonight. What's the latest on him and his health?
Yeah, so Kelly Oubre had been dealing with kind of a sore left knee over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and that he said he was compensating for, and it turned into a foot injury in MRI. He's fine. He said he'll play tonight. And I think you know it must have been pretty bad because this was the first time he's missed a game all year. He's a guy who's usually pretty used to, just playing through pain. There was a season in a game where he cut his hand pretty bad, and it was something that he had to basically compensate for a full week or even more, and didn't miss any practice, didn't miss a game. So he's a guy who wants to be on the court. So I think it was something that they just told him, all right, take the night off, got some testing, and obviously someone asked him yesterday, how did this injury affect you? He's like, it's my foot, man. Pretty much I need it for everything on the basketball court.
I noticed that Mike Scott is starting to get a little more run, or maybe it was just one game there at the end of the games. What do you think?
Yeah, overall the bench this year has been much better. I think Jan Mahinmi's health has changed that a lot because last year he was missing for most of the season, and he is basically the defensive anchor of that bench. Mike Scott's been really good for much of the year. These past few games coming out of the All-Star break, he hasn't been shooting nearly as well, but I thought his last game was a good sign that he's moving in the right direction. He hit a few threes against the Pacers. Thomas Satoransky, obviously, when this team is healthy, has been a huge improvement at backup point guard from last year because it was about this time last year that they were signing Brandon Jennings essentially off the street after he got waived by the New York Knicks. So overall, it's been much better. Jody Meeks has been improving, and Kelly Oubre, I think, has developed into a guy who's basically a starter-level player that's coming off their bench. So all in all, it's amazing how much they've improved their bench from 1 year over because last year their bench was obviously a major weakness. And this year, I think when it's fully healthy, it might actually be a pretty good strength.
Should we worry about the Kelly Oubre injury that kept him out of the last game? I think it was precautionary at this point.
Yeah, I would say it was precautionary, but because he's so important to what they do and, where they want to go, I would definitely say it's a concern at this point until he can kind of put it behind him. They don't seem to think that it's going to linger throughout the course of the season, but obviously what he does is, bring a lot of energy as a guy who's very athletic, who can play above the rim, who can run the floor. So they need to make sure that he's good to go, but it sounds like he'll be fine. He didn't seem like it's a concern much at all.
So in your opinion, best case scenario for the Wizards going forward, they've played, 64? So about 18 games left or something like that, right? So right now they're sitting at the 5. They're a game back of the Pacers, who are pretty hot right now. They've won 3 straight. They beat the Bucks last night. They're a game and a half back of Cleveland. Who knows what's going on with them? We thought they were much better after the trades, but then they tanked it a few games, but then they win last night. Best case scenario for the Wizards, do you think that they can get that 3 seed, or do you think that Cleveland ultimately holds them off there?
I think they could get the 3 seed, but I think a logical best case scenario would be to get that 4th spot so you can get home court advantage. And then you look at the 4 teams they're likely to face off against, and I think you probably want to avoid the Bucks or the Sixers if you can. If you were going to go up against the Pacers or the Heat, that'd be a lot easier to swallow, I think, than the 76ers or the Bucks, because those guys have some of the best young players in the NBA. Obviously, the Sixers have 2 guys who could lead them to championships someday. Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Bucks is just a complete problem. So if I were them, I'd much rather face the Sixers or the Pacers. If you can get, or I'm sorry, the Heat or the Pacers, and if you can get home court advantage, then I would really like the Wizards' chances to go to the second round.
Yeah, but you're probably not going to face those teams, Chase. Those teams are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. So,
well, right now.
Well, the Sixers are only a game back of the Wiz.
Understood, but
yeah,
I mean, they're not that far out.
There's a lot that can happen. I think any best-case scenario, though, has to involve, obviously, John Wall coming back healthy and getting back in time to kind of adjust to this, to the way they're playing right now and hopefully be 100% because if they are to go where they want to go this year, I truly believe.
I mean, why couldn't the Sixers move up to the 5 seed?
They could, but I think the Wizards are sliding down. And if they're going to end up in the 4-5 hole, I guess, if you have one of those teams moving up to the 5 hole, or they're the 5th seed and one of those teams moves up to the 4. But in all likelihood, look, the Bucks are, I think, the 8 seed right now.
Right, but they're only a couple games back of of these teams.
They could slide up, but just based on the way they've been playing, I doubt that it's going to happen.
So if you had to put money on it right now, who do you think that they face in the first round?
I think they're going to probably face, sadly, I think they're going to be a 6 seed and face Cleveland.